Okay. Oh man, I want to sneeze now. I just started that. Okay. Getting stream started today was not easy. This has been a challenging start. Good morning, Wallen. How you doing? I'm testing something new today. I went on a mission. I went on a quest to try and find tools to allow me to see the chat because yesterday Restream would not connect. So I restarted my computer. I've uninstalled. I've reinstalled. Restream will not connect to the chats, so I can't get Restream, which is what I was using for the prompter, to show both chats. The Elgato tools only support Twitch, so I can only have a Twitch stream because they don't have any. They don't have any connectors. They just have just use the chat. Um, does no, I just thought about that. Hold on, chat beta. Oh no, it has it hard coded. Online is trying to honestly evaluate how he's doing. Okay overall. Sometimes okay is good. Actually, I was starting to get prepared for the stream. Do you ever have one of those moments where you just you're just irritated with yourself, like things just bug you, and I was like, no, I'm going to go take a shower and and not start messing with the stream until I'm ready. I was like, okay, I'm going to do the thing. Good morning, mate. Right, bit early, right? I mean, it's 7 a.m. for me. This is my normal stream time. I get the 2 hours of a day to stream. That's it. I'm good. I'm good. I was just saying that I was getting ready to stream and I was just in no good mood. I was just getting I was irritated at myself and I was just like I'm gonna go take a shower and just relax for 10 minutes before I even start this. And now I feel much better for it. So sometimes stepping away and doing something like that is necessary. So yeah. But yeah, I was so Restream chat wasn't working. I tried to download Restream Streamer.bot. Streamer.bot wouldn't connect to anything. No, Loki, you're not getting up today. No, we're not doing this again. You go lay down. Go lay down. No, go lay down. You can look at me as sad as you want. No. Um, so I'm trying to find alternatives. I downloaded one tool and it looked like it was thrown together in some okay, I won't be offensive, but it did not look at all trustworthy. Let's say that. And then I downloaded Axel Chat, which is an open source thing, and this one seems to work fine. I mean, it does nice job of the text. The text is nice and big and readable. It's showing me clearly which one's YouTube and which one's Twitch. It's giving me all the icons and all the badges and stuff. So, phew, I got that working. But streaming is hard. So it was not off to a great start today, but now I feel much better. So today we're going to talk about sprint status. We're going to talk about getting the components working. Oh, Mark, by the way, did you? Well, I didn't see that you streamed again last night. I assumed that you were taking the break you needed. How are you feeling today? Was your back bothering you, right? Because you have the issue with your back. Did you can't see the word. But I hope you're okay today. I apologize. I kind of start to think about saying something, and if I get knocked off track, I'm like, okay, I've got to finish that thing, and I've got to get come all back around on it. Yeah, what was doing today, mate? It's one of those things. Okay, no worries. Well, you gotta look after yourself, right? You gotta taking care of you is the most important thing you can do. So yeah, well, ease up, and I look forward to your return. So today we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this PR done. We're gonna get through this. We get this merged in. The unit tests are failing in this, and that's because I have a GitHub action issue that I probably should fix, but I don't want to tackle that now because it'll drive me crazy like it did last time. So we're gonna move on from that just for now, and then come back around. Famous last words. Um, Loading plugins. So our task module includes all these things. That's fine. We have unassigned tasks. So our task table now only shows unassigned. That's nice and clear. Our create sprint button has a key down event. I'm still fighting with that one. I shared a function for key press. That's fine. That's how it imports it. Some CSS. This is so the drag and drop shows the border and stuff like that. That's fine. There's our board component. This is repeating through the swim lanes, so we don't have to keep, it's not hard coded. It's more dynamic. Never gives me an issue. Huh. And sprint board component. I can't. That. Yeah. Our sprint board component. Again, this is a little risky because it's got hard coded indexes. We'll once we get a little bit more advanced with the process, we'll figure out, you know, is this the right way? Is this is this acceptable? But we'll go forward. When we change the sprint selection, we load by the sprint, which just filters the tasks because it doesn't make an extra load. Oh no, it does. This does load actually, and it just sets the store entities, and then when you go back to another page that has them, it loads all, etc. Remove messages. Task card component. This is just displaying the tasks, so we can put functions on there if it's task related. We can expand that out. We can do all sorts of stuff for the task. So we did that one. No empty CSS. We did that one. I probably should delete the empty CSS. It's just to get rid of the files. Our task card component just deals with a drag. And our task query, we have unassigned, ready for development, in progress, completed. This comes back around on our well, not our, but on my. I'm being redundant here. I think the entities sound like a line in a movie. If you listen to programming long enough, there's all sorts of weird stuff you hear, and then when you hear it in movies and TV shows, you cringe, or you're blown away with respect to like the accuracy of it. More often cringe than not, though. I guess that's the same for a lot of things. If you're an expert in something, um, then seeing it on the screen is a little harder to watch because it's not always as accurate as it's represented, maybe. Um, so this is on the tasks store, right? So isn't it redundant to say the word tasks after everything? I think it is. Um, so I'm going to correct that now. I'm not going to let that stand because it's just not useful. So that's on the tasks query feature. So we have tasks query, right? Unassigned. Sorry. Um, because of the way that uh, the file processing works here, it doesn't understand that that's a method. I don't think. Ready for development, in progress. Okay. That unfailing, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're well. Um, hello. Crispy bacon, gently melted cheese, and hash brown on 2 slices of buttered white bread with a splodge of ketchup just went down well today. I deleted that entity. Oh, crispy bacon, gently melted cheese, and hash brown on 2 slices of buttered white bread. Mm. Not brown sauce. And what cheese? You're not gonna get me. Um, and to create this account to continue following Twitch friends. Fair enough. Um, that's sad that you had to get there. You had to create that. But thank you very much. Thank you for. I suppose yeah. If you're on YouTube and then trying to go back to Twitch is hard. Yeah. Cream and mild cheddar, of course. Okay. We will. We will accept that that was a delicious sounding sandwich. So, if you don't know, Dan was blocked from Twitch for unknown reasons and has started streaming on YouTube. And so, if you want to continue following his game development journey, which I highly recommend because Dan is an awesome streamer, it's a really chill, nice place to be. Go check him out and support that YouTube stream because it takes a lot to start building a stream. It takes a lot to start trying to build a community and then to have that ripped away from you. Because if you try and go to the channel, it just says this person's been indefinitely suspended. It takes away anything. Like if you've got people that didn't come into Discord, you've got no link there. So make sure you go and like, share, and subscribe on on YouTube. So let's fix this up 1 second, and then we'll get that moving. Morning, Delta, by the way. Um, so because I do not have Restream, it just dawned on me that I don't see you guys don't see YouTube and YouTube doesn't see Twitch, which is downside. I don't know if I can get that working. I will try and make that work because um, one of the other devs wants to batch Scrum meetings. No, no, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. Um, I assume in that context, meaning um, put together kind of like um, grooming and planning. But you never know. Ugh, bad idea. You should not put. You should give space between grooming and planning so that developers can review what happened in grooming, identify any requirements, identify any assumptions, go off, think about them, and look at the code, take some time so that when you plan, you have more context and more understanding. You should not put them back together, back to back, because you are going to, yes, you might save time, but you are going to make decisions based upon the moment, not on care and attention. So it is a bad idea. No. Well, I know a lot of places don't, but it is what should happen. Um, it's actually what is advised anyway to split them up, actually by days, not even by hours. But you should make sure that you take the time to go off and look at what it's doing, because it's just not um, tasks table. This is unassigned. Then boards, sprint board. This is, yeah, I like the word. I like removing the word tasks. The store is tasks. I'm talking about tasks. Why do we need the word tasks repeated? And we've got the word tasks there. So it's just redundant to have that. And because we are a professional, we'll run the app and test that that doesn't break anything. Regardless, it'll make a good retro item for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, if you're not doing the going off and thinking about stuff anyway, and they're just two separate meetings where it's just like continuing on the conversation, then you're not going to see the negatives necessarily in a new way. But yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about that part. So I had to restart the computer. So I do apologize for the chat being disconnected if if I seem like I'm talking to myself. Um, but I am. There is YouTube and Twitch joined. I just can't. I have no idea why Restream Chat doesn't work. Um, and it doesn't look like Axel Chat provides the ability to join the two. Hey, Andy. What are we working on? We are working on. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part. Hello from the UK, you twitchy twitchers. Yeah, that's the challenge, right? Let's hide that. Let's because you guys aren't seeing the chat. In a browser source, and this is Axel chat. I don't think this is going to work as well as I might want it to do. Oh, that's very noisy. Oh, that's very noisy. I have no control of that. No, I'd rather not do that at this point. It's just too much noise on the screen. Andy, sorry. I am working on a. If we give 1 second so they can start up. That actually did kind of recover a little bit there. I just need to fix this. So what I'm doing right this second is just starting the relevant services up for this. So I am working on a project management and planning application that I started a year ago, to basically address the problems I see with applications like Jira in the flow of planning and visibility uh, into what actually is being done for development and delivery of software. Um, it is an application that I hope to become a real thing. I'm building it with a realistic hope of turning it into a real thing. And it is taking shape, shall we say? So if you give it a second, that'll be up there. So I have a belief that tools like Jira plus rules that people apply to how they understand Agile, it's a prompt machine, um, uh, 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 rules they apply based upon their interpretation of Agile and Scrum mean that tools like Jira start to become focused on trying to be the business process, but then they lose visibility into the development process because they're better representing the business versus the developer, right? So, um, so what I'm trying to do, to Mark's point, it's a prompt machine. Basically, I'm trying to guide them down the path of here's the planning piece, here's the thing that you want to build. Tell us about it, and then the development side of things is tracked against that. So we'll start to see it now. Or we won't see it because we didn't start the actual website up. We just gotta build that. There's two aspects. There's the planning and there's tasks right now. Tasks has a, there we go, that's why you should build it. Sprintboard component, sprintboard component, HTML line 6. What's your issue with that? The left side is optional chain. Okay. So we sign in. Take a second for everything to cache and load in the relevant time. Overall, the application structure looks something like this. It is a distributed system, uses Angular for the front end, some API gateway using YARP right this second. We switched out from Ocelot. We got some GraphQL going on. We got some Kafka going on. There's actually some service bus going on in here as well with RabbitMQ and Mass Transit. And we have this modular monolith. So a planning item is the idea is this would be a product management tool. So they'd be able to say, okay, here's what I want. A sprint can be this, and here's my requirements for this, right? So they're defining what they expect to see, how they should be able to do things. What this is consisting of is not the technical requirements, it is the rules they see. And QA, etc., would be really using this to guide all their testing off of it, like are we meeting the requirements? But from here, normally this would be a story in Jira, and these might be tasks if you actually task it out, but they are separate and distinct requirements that lead into this. So this is kind of becoming it has the option of becoming kind of epic like, or being story like, depending on how big you want to go or whatever you want to do. So you can flex that as you need. There will be the concept of initiatives, so planning items can roll up into initiatives, but this is for the planning team to break down, not for the developers. So it's however they break it down is how they break it down, to try and describe what is the thing they want in the clearest possible terms. The developers then can add tasks to this, and the tasks show over here. Tasks are backlogged like this right now, and a task can have a description, and this can be more technical because now it's more technically focused on tasks, and it links back to the requirement that prompted it. So you can reference, why are you doing this piece? You can assign it to a sprint, and when you assign it to a sprint, it disappears. We got some UI issues there. And then you can go over here to the sprint boards, and you can see the sprint boards, and here's the actual sprint boards in their current form. We can drag and drop these around, and yeah, we get to see where everything lies. So very much focused on workflow. So what I'm about to start working on right now, once I've done this little fix, is the ability to kind of start and stop sprints and complete work, etc. The code isn't open source. It is a large project at this point. The open sourcing this would not be smart. It's 79 projects. Requires lots of services to start up a whole Docker piece, SQL servers, scripts, etc. So it's not open source. It is something I want to turn it into a product if I could. So I'm going to continue holding on to that. If I ever decide it's not a product, then it will get open source. But there are components of it that are the Kafka components that I've built that interface with console, so they can keep store topics and stuff, and wrap around those things. That's all open source. Any chance I can use it to organize my blog building? You mean use Liquid Sky to plan the blogs? I mean, yeah, you could do, in theory. So, yeah. So the stream is. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Or not. The stream is very much. I'm sharing the development. And if there's any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, if you don't agree with what I'm doing, if you think I'm wrong or misguided, I'm happy to discuss. Right? I'm happy to realize I am wrong. If another company comes along and releases this or has released this and I didn't realize it exists, I'm happy to accept that and understand that. So any feedback is, as long as it's positive, is absolutely fine. Positive in the sense of it's constructive rather than positive in the like, not like praise me, do not criticize me. Right? But yeah. So the stream is very much to share this information and this journey. I've been a developer for a while, so a lot of this seems very easy to me, and now I start to describe it to people, I realize just how complicated it can seem, because there's a lot of it. Uh, no, you're always qualified to comment if you have an opinion on it. I mean, you joined the stream, so you know, uh, you are qualified by virtue of you care enough to join the stream. So I do not mind. But the option is there. That's why I would say it. I guess it's ideal actual use cases for a team. I think very much so, Dota. I think the realistically, what's going to happen is as I grow this project, it's going to show the cracks of a single user. Like it's going to be too much for a single user to use, and I'm going to fall back into those old um uh um oh, I'll just use this. I'll just use this, and I kind of use parts of the application rather than the full application. So yeah. So maybe that dev's website would be more ideal if me and Mojo started working on that site. Yeah, yeah, it would work better from a planning perspective. More team-based stuff. Why does it? Why doesn't? Oh, because they didn't push it. You've got to commit the changes. Then you've got to push the changes. Otherwise, they don't get there. Removed redundancy from methods, method names computed. Also, any desire to try some cards with me, you, and Mojo? I'd like to practice some on weekends. Yeah, if we get the time. Yeah, depends on the kata, but um, I've updated my copy paste description of the project. Let me know if you'd like any of it changed. TBD Game is developing a software project management tool, codenamed Liquid Sky, designed to streamline the capture of requirements and the management of development tasks. It emphasizes a distinct separation between the planning and development phases, which has the potential to optimize workflows and enhance project organization. This free marketing department's doing awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Delta. Yeah, I'd be interested in doing some Carter stuff. When we sit there on the weekends, it's useful. Nice one, Lion. I appreciate that. I think over time I've kind of started to evolve the description enough, and I think avoiding the word agile is definitely a key thing at this point. Um, it's because again, it separates this is a tool. This is not a process. It's not like the Scrum board, the sprint boards and the Kanban stuff is going to get into the Scrum side of things, but it's not necessarily agile. Yeah, yeah. Um, well, no, I think project management, because project management is a well used term in this field for this sort of software. I get where you're coming from there. Um, but we use it a lot. if you look at if you look at things like Jira and stuff, they always say project management. Um, well, yeah, I get that. Um, but we- but I see the point. But again, people will align their understanding. That's the challenge right now. I need them to understand this isn't everything. Well, maybe we've got to define our own words. Maybe we've got to define our own paths and stuff. So yeah. Okay, so that's that. So we should have a refresh available here. So I will get to this, I promise. Why does it not? Oh, I didn't push it, did I? I thought I did push it. Ads are about to start. I do apologize if you're stuck behind ads. Um, it does help people not get pre-rolls. So thank you if you are watching ads. Oh, well, I'm waiting for that push to go through. Last night, so I've started playing Eve, mainly just to talk to my brother a bit. Else print error. Coffee cup is already empty. Cannot function without coffee. Oh, I really want Restream to work again. I'm not paying for Restream. I'm sorry, but the stream does not cover the cost of Restream every month. The subs do not cover the cost of Restream to make that worth it. It would be in the hole. Okay, so we got the statuses there. That's fine. There's our statuses. Yep, that's looking right. Load by sprint. Yep, we got that. Yeah, having the ability to have YouTube chat come into Twitch chat and chat come to Twitch go to the YouTube is very nice, but I'm wondering if Restream have put it behind their paywall now. But it doesn't look like it. And the fact that StreamerBot doesn't connect is again telling. The hard coding is bugging me, but I got to deal with it for right this second. There's my tests, so yeah, let's go with that. So you see, unit tests are failing. Now, unit tests are failing because of the GitHub action that runs the unit tests, and it requires the branch of um, um, foundation to be named the same for it to build both. So I need to make a change to the GitHub action. I just don't know how to do it. I'm open to any ideas. So the GitHub action is workflows, CI YAML. So what this does is it goes and gets the branch name and then checks out foundation and uses the same branch name on foundation. But what I need it to do is if this doesn't work, if it can't find this branch in foundation, it should check out the the development branch of foundation, or yeah. So yeah, I don't know what to do to fix it. It's got to be possible though. But for right now, we're going to proceed. Coffee. Coffee. Confirm, squash, and merge. So we get rid of that branch, and then we'll move to the next thing. Let's stop running. Check out development. And update. One thing I am considering doing, by the way, is actually splitting the client app out into its own repository. Right now, the fact that I run it separately, the fact that it's not even included in this application anymore, it just tells me that it is truly independent. So I could have Liquid Sky clients.angular or something like that. It's definitely a benefit to having it its own repo. I mean, not that I'm going to run along anytime soon and be developing the Blazor or the React or the the Next.js version of the Liquid Sky client, but the option's there. So I might break that out at some point. I think that would be a wise thing because then this isn't linked. Although the problem with doing it that way, just from the discussion perspective, is the problem with doing it that way is if I make API changes, that client is no, because I have a branch. I'd have to use it's the same problem as Foundation. Everything has to align. If there's changes that affect all the things, then they have to align. That's fine. I don't know why I was pausing on that for a second. Okay, so this should have my gym trainer wanted a mobile app for a nutrition business he wants to run. I think I'm going to counterpitch him. A simple website that lets people order food via email. I think it's the way, right? To yeah, this commit history is looking a little tidier, not perfect, but a little tidier. Oh, it marks it as failing unit tests as well. That's interesting. Before I go too far, let's make sure everything actually does pass. All kinds of work and a stake in the business versus maybe I charge him a couple $100 for a few weekends of work. His best pass, or I'm going to be upset. Yeah, okay. Everything passes. I keep thinking about doing side work and stuff, and I'm like, I don't have the energy or time. And if I'm going to spend that much energy, it's going to be on Liquid Sky anyway. So, okay, so let's go, and now we need to clear that up. Delete sprint boards branch. We don't want that line out there. These are all different things. Yeah, yeah, it's not. You can't be going cheap on that sort of stuff because, yeah. Okay. Let's run. Get this part planned out and started. I don't think this will actually take too long, but again, me and time estimates. We are actually enjoy building some flashy site that takes an email too. Hope he agrees to it. Sorry, Terry, ChatGPT is assisting me in trying to make jokes. I don't understand. You're trying to get programming jokes out there. It's all good. I appreciate you being here. I realize that this is not your cup of coffee. So I really do appreciate the support. It means a lot that people are willing to come and sit in the stream and with little to no context of what I'm doing. Okay, so let's get this running. So again, we're using the app to plan the app at this point, right? Speaking of coffee, stepping away to refill. Last year I started cutting back on the. This will be funny considering my daily snacks recently have been sugary. I started cutting back on things like putting creamer and sugar in coffees and teas and stuff, and now I can drink all coffee black, which I enjoy with no sugar, and I can drink tea, flavored teas. Like we have a ginger peach tea, which is delicious. Black. Ooh, I never put sugar in coffee. I bet that make it taste better. But I could never drink British tea. black. I've tried drinking Yorkshire tea black, and that's lip curlingly bad. The apple turnovers keep on flowing. Recently, yeah, yeah. I'm normally more disciplined, but because of the karate injury and stuff, I've just not been doing very much. So like, yeah, I'll order a snack. It's fine. Not like I have to worry about trying to run around with an apple turnover in my stomach later. That will get back under control though. Well, Joe, by the way, did I say hello? Did I say good morning? I apologize if I didn't. I should have done. Okay, so Liquid Sky, sprints. So we said yesterday a sprint can be open, available to assign tasks to. It can be started or active, whichever one we determined is the right phrase there, and can only be active for a team at a time. The challenge with this expectation is we can't really achieve that right now because we don't have teams. So that becomes a later requirement, right? So it can be started or active, and it can be completed, right? So I should be able to complete the sprint. I should be able to start the sprint. This brings up the question of ordering of requirements, right? From a readability perspective, this doesn't read quite well. So should we be able to reorder requirements? Does it matter that the requirements are in any order? I don't know, but it's something we're thinking about later. I should be able to start the sprint. As a development lead, I should be able to start the sprint on an open sprint. When an open sprint is started, a button should appear in the top right of the screen, offering to. When an open sprint is selected, a button should appear in the top right of the screen, offering on the board's screen. A button should appear in the top right of the screen, offering to reading start sprint. Reading start. If the start date of the sprint is in the future, it should warn me. Starting the sprint will set the start date to the current date time. If the start date of the sprint is in the past, it should warn me that the original start date was X, but starting the sprint now will set the start date to the current date time. Right. So we've got that requirement. Should see. Now this is should. I know that I have a little bit of a thing about should. In this world, from the planning perspective, from the product team, should is actually pretty much acceptable as a word because that's what they here's what it should do, right? Now that should is still open to interpretation when you get to actually doing. So yeah, should see the start end date top right of the board as a when viewing. I gotta fix that flashing. Viewing a sprint when selecting a sprint. Should be able to see the end start and expected end date. The sprint. I should be able to complete the sprint on the sprint board as a team leader. I should be able to complete the sprint. If there are days remaining in the sprint, I should receive a prompt asking me to confirm that I do want to complete the sprint. Now, there's an implicit behavior here that they aren't going to see at this point. Because let's say we're thinking about this from the product perspective. They don't care about the past sprints right now. They're not worrying about reporting at this stage. We're not worrying about it from that perspective. Nothing says we have to update the end date of the sprint with the current date in this requirement, and they're not going to think to do that, right? because they haven't got to the, hey, I want to see the burn down, I want to see the sprint completions, I want to see any of this. They've not thought about the reporting, and neither have I, to be clear. So the fact that I just get a prompt doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to capture that in the product's requirements, right? And is it right to assume? So this is where you should ask questions. You should make sure, again, should, you need to, if you want to get to the heart of what you want to, if you want to get to the heart of what you need to do as a developer, you do need to make sure that you are asking questions at the right time, given enough chance to go off and figure out what the system does, what it doesn't do. Now, again, this flow is easier for me. I am playing the role of PM. I am playing the role of developer. No, okay, I am the developer. I'm not playing the role, but I'm playing the roles of the people involved, and I'm not really representative of the management side of things. The piece that I'm really focused on, I'm not the best representative for. That being said, I've seen the process enough and gone through the pain enough to know that this sort of stuff is the stuff that's lacking. The ability to disconnect the product team from having to worry about the development team constraints, being able to specify the things that they want to see, how they want to see them. The work associated with this thing is therefore not bound by the same rules as stories, etc. So, maybe a sprint expert or an agile expert comes in here one day and just rips this apart. But for me, this is working well right now, and I think it's useful to identify that this is what they're expecting from the software. But just because it's one requirement doesn't mean it's not multiple components from a development perspective. So, and if you're new to the stream, you're more than welcome to interact. You're more than welcome to ask questions. If you have thoughts, opinions on this, or you just have no idea what's going on and you'd like to know more, please feel free. So the biggest thing we have is we don't have the concept of status, right? And the first thing that requires us to have status is the being able to start the sprint, right? Now the challenge is that a sprint can be open. So by default, when you create a sprint, it's going to be open, right? It's got to be open. You can start it and then you can complete it, right? So we have some implicit rules in here, right? As a development leader, I should be able to start the sprint on an open sprint. I should be able to start an open sprint, right? When an open sprint is selected on the board screen, a button should appear in the top right. So I'm implying that there's a filter on that drop down, right? So if we're tasking this out, the first rule is add status to sprint. Include status update tasks dot status table to include tasks dot to include status. Now, the downside to this architecture, if I want to change not only what is captured, but what is seen, I have to change a lot of little pieces. Now, it's only a little bit of work and it's kind of repetitive, but it is a lot more than if there was just one column in one table and everything was based off it, right? It just the nature of this beast is a little bit harder to do. So I need to update the task table to include the status. I need to update the put endpoint of task to include status. Update the handler. Redundancy. To update task table to include status. Put endpoint of task to include status. Handler. Command handler. Publish integration event. Now, if we're talking about slicing, right? We can do this from command side, right? So we can stop here. We can just say integration event is the publishing endpoint. Therefore, there we go, done. Right. So if we introduce the status first, and we introduce the concept of passing the status and updating the status, everything else is validation and stuff on the client side. However, we do have an implicit rule, like I said. So if the start date of the sprint is in the future, it should warn me starting the sprint will set the start date to the current date time. So we do have a requirement there that when we start the sprint, when the sprint moves to started or active, whichever one we choose, it should move the start date of the sprint to the current date and time. Yeah. So the command handler to apply status change when started, update start time, start date time to current UTC date time. Actually, no, it's fine. Date time is going to kick me again. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to demonstrate why that's going to hurt. I think it will cause pain, but we'll see. When completed, update end date time. No, we do not have a rule for updating, for completing yet. So we do not need to do that as part of that piece yet. This is starting the sprint that's triggering this need. So we do not want to pull that rule in yet. Yes, I realize that it is coming, but essentially we could do this as a component and commit it and have it available to us and do the UI work. Again, if we were slicing this, we'd do, this would take us from, this is taking us right from the API endpoint right to publish integration event. Publish integration event includes status. And status, like everything else, is just a string. So we created one task. So that does that now. Integrate view status, update tasks in view to include status, tasks table in view, update receiver to pass status from integration event, update. I keep wanting to use the word update, don't I? But it's redundant. Handler to, yeah, the challenge there is it's called the update handler. Handler to capture status table, expose GraphQL, expose model status on view model GraphQL. It's a string. It'll follow a similar pattern. So this will get us to the point where we now can receive that event, query it out again, right? The rest is client side, so we need to update UI for status, for starting. Oh, I have a bed under the desk for the dogs, and they just curl up together in the bed. Um, so this is update UI to start sprint. So we're going to do gotta fix that. Filter sprints for drop down based on status. Should not offer completed sprints. Actually, no, that isn't a requirement yet because we haven't got to completed. So we could do this without this. Now, this gets into dependency, but we couldn't do the completed one without these others. So we need to do that, but we could actually do completed as a separate component. So that filtering of that drop down doesn't have to happen until we worry about that complete status. And again, we can start to deliver components of the software with value without actually. If we tied it all up into this, we'd end up with a lot more. And it's why you don't want to let yourself race away with what ifs and I might need and all that sort of stuff. That's what I'm trying to do here. So, when create start sprint button with on select sprint, start sprint should appear not already active. Sprint clicked. Validate start end from as required. Update store endpoint service output. So this does have a dependency. Well, right now it does. We could mock this API out. So you could do all this and make it pretend. Just when I thought we were making progress, and I went, heard the S3 dev didn't do the testing documentation, and now he's asking to create tasks with no specs. Give me the work I need to move on to, and yeah. Yep. So I think that covers those pieces. I think what this is highlighting, by the way, is that if I'm doing this from here, I need some sort of visibility. So my initial design thing of a wizard, yeah, we said let's test and then come back to define what makes a backlog item. I was just filling up the backlog. Yeah. When selecting a sprint, show complete button. Sprint. When a sprint is selected on the board, if the sprint is currently in an active status, the complete button should be offered. Yeah, that's a hard one. I'm not sure how you even get around that. If you're 2 days in and you're not even following the process that you already laid out, then it's like people complain about Agile and Scrum and the process and the challenges and the only way it works effectively, again, is if everyone's engaged with it and everyone is doing the pieces. I can never find though. But again, you need a team. You cannot do with 2 out of 3. When the sprint is selected on the board, if the sprint is coming, the complete button should be offered. If the date, complete date, prompt if complete date is in future. Refuse. Stop the process. Make it painful. Make it so the only good path, the only acceptable path, the only easy path is doing it the right way. When a sprint is selected on the board, actively reject. I see in that instance, I would actively reject any work done against tasks that were not properly defined. I would actively prevent them from going into any sprints. I would remove them and say these are not defined, they need to be defined, and I'd just be bureaucratic as all heck. It's the process that you've agreed to, it's the process that you've identified will help things. Yeah. No work starts unless it's in that, and it's to help everybody. So when a sprint is selected on the board, if the sprint is currently in an active status, the complete button should be offered. Prompt if the complete date is in future. Let's go with that for right this second. True, the PR process is menacing. It requires 2 approvals and the pusher can't approve it. Exactly. So you can reject everything. Only takes a bit of that, and yeah. Now, I get it. That might seem counterproductive, but it's in the good of the software in the long run. Don't offer closed sprints, sprint selection. Globally, in both the task update and the sprint board drop down, it should not be possible to select a completed sprint. There's another task here that needs to happen. When oh no, not on this one, it's on this one. Work that is not completed. Let's say, and again, this is why. Yeah, you get it. Yeah. I finished the thought. This is why, again, you should ask questions. You should define the parameters of what you are doing. I was about to skip over a very important piece there. If I complete a sprint and there is still work in the ready for development or in progress columns, therefore I have not finished it, what happens? If I leave that be, and the developer, and I've been here, right? The developers literally follow everything they've seen there and they create the tasks off of everything they've seen there. Say, and they do exactly what is defined there. That completed work disappears. In the current version, you will lose track. And what happens is that looks like a missed requirement. Even though it's not a requirement explicitly, it's well, come on, you know that that's going to be a thing. So why not do it? Again, it's why discussing it and identifying it, thinking about the flow. Don't forget, as a developer, you're the expert in the flow of the software, right? You understand the intricacies, you understand the quirks, you understand all these little things. And yeah, maybe the business does understand a lot of them, but they don't understand everything, and they don't understand those little development pieces, the data visibility, the hacks you're doing to get around things. And it's worth making sure you're asking the right questions. So what should be here is when there is work outstanding, I should be prompted to let me know that that outstanding work will be removed from the sprint and put back into the backlog. Right now, that's the best way. What we'll do is remove the sprint. Oh, worth noting, the front end dev complained about product discovery not having parent-child relationships. Okay. Add task. Ooh, that's not good. It isn't clear when I close it. Tasks should remove sprint tasks on completed. When a sprint is completed, then any work outstanding should be removed. When a sprint is completed, any work outstanding should be removed. Should have current sprint removed from it. It returns to the backlog. Now, ultimately, it might be that we want to say, okay, move that work to a next sprint, and that's kind of whoever mentioned it yesterday, the merge concept or whatever from a sprint perspective, and that's okay. We can do that later. There's no harm in doing this way. This is display the start display the start end date time when the sprint is selected. Create component formatting the start and date time. Okay, so what we've done there is defined a bunch of work that needs to be done. Sprint activity, sprint activity, sprint activity, right? So we're going to create a new sprint. I'm just going to use this called getting sprints started. I'm going to start that today. Yeah, I'm going to stop that next week. Create. Go back here. Go in here. That caught up a little bit. Getting sprint started. Getting sprint started. Getting sprint started. Do you see a pattern here already? Now I see where there's a drag and drop in Jira. Getting sprint started. Getting sprint started. Okay. So we go over here. We select getting sprint started. It's catching up. There's a disconnect in speed because of that eventual consistency aspect. Now, what I probably should do is make sure that the store is updating appropriately, because what I think will happen is 6 will be there eventually. There you go, or 7, however many it was, right? Having children in Planet Ends is already everything. Well, so in this world, the planning item here would roll up into an initiative. So if many planning items relate to not planning children right now. Me neither. Um, but yeah, initiatives would be the grouping of planning items, right? I could have an initiative called sprints, and sprint activity, you know, defining them, working with them, all those sorts of things would be planning items that could be built out. And again, each one of these adds its own value, right? If we think about this now, by the end of this planning item, we'll be able to do a lot more with the sprint, right? So go here, getting sprint started. Now again, we could. One of the things we need is we need dependencies upon these things. So there is a clear dependency problem. We do have to do some in certain orders. These don't indicate certain things, so that's hard. You know, maybe the planning item needs to be displayed here. Like, what does it relate to? I don't know. Um, yeah, but now we can go back here to our board. We can actually say this is now in progress, right? Because we're going to start it. Our branching strategy, everything else is going to be quirky. Yeah. Okay. So let's new branch feature. Um, adding sprint uh, status on sprints. Okay. Oh, dang it. The problem of using the software to develop the software is that I have to have the software running. I can't just go making changes. Um, so we'll let that build again. If you are new to the stream and you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, please feel free. We're not putting in, yeah. Um, yeah, sorry. Yeah, if you have any thoughts or you questions on what I'm doing, please feel free. This project is quite large. Okay, so the reason I started it all back up again is because I need certain things to happen, right? Um, so that problem when I selected this and I was only seeing 4 cards, and even when the first time when I came in here, right? Um, when I came in here, there was only a few showing, and then I came back in and everything was showing. That's the eventual consistency problem, right? Because that information was added to the system, but it hasn't made it all the way through Kafka yet. And it got there. That being said, I do have it in the store. I have added that thing to the store. So probably what I need to do is refine the because if I've added it to the store, that means I've got it back from the server. I've got an ID for it. I probably just need to refine that process and get more comfortable with that. Um, so yeah, it's about making sure that we have that eventually consistent nature handled visually. That's where the problem lies there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to get sprint started. Um, Now what was so now we have a deficiency here. We can't see the status. We can't see the work that we need to do. Um, so we immediately have another uh, thing we want to tackle. Um, this is detail on sprint board cards. As a developer, it is useful to be able to see more information on a card. Sprintboard. I should be able to select a card and have a layout. Right? I should be able to select a card and see the information. Expect. So let's put that for review. We're not going to do it now. Let's put it for review by next Thursday, Halloween. Story. UI. Okay. So that goes down there. Yep. So for anyone, so the idea right this second is when I click on this, I see status preparing. That means that's in a status of the planning, the product manager or whoever is dealing with this piece is going and getting more information. They're going to add the requirements. They are kind of refining those things, determining what actually are the requirements of this thing. Maybe in a world where we have UI, UX, etc., they're doing mock-ups, they're attaching the mock-ups, they're attaching any comments from other people, they're gathering feedback. I still think this comments actually ends up becoming discussion. And I actually do believe that discussion is a component unto itself. I actually do think that's actually something I'm going to consider, because I think discussions can be attached to, so the discussion should be referenced from the planning item right through everything, right? And if a discussion is updated or added, um, um, I need to start doing that. I read the message at the corner of my eye, and now I can't think. My Dunkin' app had reorder on my last purchase, and I asked, why would I want to change the sort of my purchase history? Is reorder an overloaded term? Well, the problem is that you wouldn't. The term there would be sort if you wanted to sort in any other way, right? It wouldn't be to reorder. Reorder is a concept we have internally. We might reorder something, but we don't often refer to it as reorder on the client side. It's normally sort. But it does, yeah, you're not wrong in terms of the term. Yeah, we have it. The English language plus tech makes things even more interesting. So the goal would be, so diverting back away from discussion. I think the discussion is something that could continue on through everything. So it's worth having discussion, potentially worth having discussion as a separate piece. But right now, comments. So you could gather information, you could gather feedback, you could do all sorts of stuff on this, and then when you're ready to put it in front of developers, you do ready for planning, right? So that's why that's in preparing status. So the goal for this would be, I've said by next Thursday, I want to review this again. It's in my view because it's within the next 7 days. So if I'm not very busy, I could get to that. And this is the next in priority, right? For me to deal with. Review date is a priority of my doing, right? So it's me as a product manager, product owner, whoever, I'm trying to order these things appropriately. Now, again, this backlog of things, this past due, shouldn't be there, right? And they're only there because it keeps helping demonstrate the concepts, but it also demonstrates a problem if if you've got too many of them. So I'm saying, okay, by next, so my first priority is my sprint activity. My um, backlog should not show, should only show work that has not been completed, right? So when I complete work, DPD the parcel has just been to my home address and apologized for the mistake regarding my stolen PC and assured me they will rectify the situation. Nice. I mean, not nice because you've had to deal with that. So for context, Mark on YouTube ordered a brand new PC, and the delivery company dropped it in an open area or a common area. It was labeled as a PC. It was clear what it was, and then said the front door sign for it. So yes, that's good that they've acknowledged that. Still think they should give you an upgrade as an apology. But at least you're moving forward, and you've got they're going to rectify it and get you that PC. The fact that they have to come out and do that as well is probably assessing. Yeah, there was a lot. Because I assume you live in a block of flats or something, right? So you've got a locked front door. So it's like you said, it's only your area, but at least they're doing something. That's good. So the backlog should not show completed work. The backlog should only show work that has not been completed. Um, is this possible? So again, this is why these are reviewed, right? And this is why this isn't in the sprint. It isn't in the work backlog, right? This is in the planning backlog, because this item might actually not be needed now, right? I might have created that in reaction to something else, and now I'm, struggling there. There's two other concepts I want to introduce more recently. I want to move this up, so I want to put this into review by next Thursday as well. And I want to, I think we can say that that's completed. I've ordered food. Um, this is something that we need to consider as well. So the idea that the uh, uh, product team, the development team should be told, hey, by the way, there's something coming. Okay, so let's get started. So we've tracked that. And I apologize if anyone's watching and anyone's getting bored of me talking about stuff and doing stuff. The entire purpose of this is to kind of identify these things and go through this process. So yeah, it might seem boring, like I'm not doing any real development, but I'm doing stuff that needs to be done to make sure the development I'm doing has value and meaning and is done in an efficient manner, right? So the problem I have right now is I can't see what I actually said I would do here. And I don't have any order or priority here, so this is confusing. So I'm gonna need to use the database to get the concept of those tasks, so I can see what I actually wrote I would do as part of each piece. So update the store, add status to sprint. So it's this one. Task table to include status, put endpoint of task. So there we go. So now let's stop running. So task table to include status. So that is this table that I'm talking about right this second needs to have a status column. Not this. Sprints needs task table to include status. Wow. I'm glad my fellow developers called me out on that one. Modified table. So we have this. SQL Server does not support column reordering. MySQL does, and that comes at a cost. Status envarchar 50. Envarchar 50. However you want to pronounce that one. Any recommended resource in tasking from a requirements gathering point of view? In terms of guidance on how to recommended resource on tasking from a requirements gathering point of view. those two seem counter to me. So this is going to be open by default, right? I didn't explicitly state that either. That open is the default. I'm going to put that on there just because it covers it. Um, so a sprint could be open. Should we say active or started? What would work there? Maybe I'm asking the wrong question. How do you define chores for children? What you do is you say, I expect you to do this, 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 and this. Here's the parameters of what this, and this are. And then they ignore you when you get upset with them. Then you offer incentives when they do the things quickly and don't do them right. Am I talking about chores or am I talking? Yeah, children and chores. Yeah, that's definitely how that was. In a professional environment, it works in a similar way. um, so the reason I push back, and all joking aside, tasking from a requirements gathering point of view, um, what are you tasking when you're gathering requirements? You shouldn't be tasking when you're gathering requirements. You should be gathering what do we expect to do, right? What is expected of the software? What do we need to do? What do we want to see? Works the same everywhere. It's not unique to you, I'm afraid. Sprint stable to include status. So let's get that column. Let's script that column out because generate DDL to clipboard, and then we go over here. We go to scripts and we go to tasks. Got to find a name for that, and then we include that column. Script out the entire database. Come on, mate. So if you're gathering requirements, what you're trying to do is identify. Taking was the wrong term. I thought that was the umbrella category. Tasking. I think what we're identifying here is a clear need to identify the right terms for the right things. Surprise, that's a common challenge as well, is making sure you're on the same page as to what a word actually refers to. And if you have an overloaded term, so identifying requirements is not tasked. Identifying requirements is figuring out what is needed. So it's again, like from this perspective, it's okay. I need to be able to select this sprint, drop down, and hit start sprint. What should that do? What should I see change? What am I expecting to happen? What value does it give me? Those requirements should, again, the one thing I'm missing on the planning guidance right now is kind of the goal, the value to the customer. But identifying those things and trying to eliminate questions. Trying to answer the questions that you know are going to come beforehand is part of requirements gathering, right? Is they're going to ask about this because, well, if we do this, then this is going to happen. Does that become part of this? Is asking the questions of yourself to know what the bounds of what you're asking for are, then the developers come along and say, well, hold on, you're asking for a little bit too much there. Let's trim that down. Let's remove that. Let's move that to a different thing over here. Now we can focus on this. Now we can figure out what are the actual things we need to do to achieve this work. We need 3 stories. We need, in current Jira form, we need 3 stories. We need a story for updating the UI. We need a story for updating the database. We need a story for adding the configuration, whatever it is. So breaking down from the requirements to the actual work is creating the tasks, essentially, tasking them out. And that might be a better live conversation than it is me talking to a screen and hoping that I'm getting the right context. Not necessarily test cases. Requirements don't align necessarily to test cases. They can do, but you shouldn't think of them as test cases. You should be worried first about what do we want. If you start again, if you start trying to bundle it into a box and start to say that, oh, we have to define the requirements as test cases, then you're going to bundle it into that box and it's not going to fit. And when it doesn't fit, you're going to make it fit and you're going to lose context. You're going to lose information. So you've got to be careful. You don't try, like, I can't show you because it's not running, but I'm also in office today. Yeah. You've got to, one of the things that I'm trying to focus on in the planning item is it's essentially a wish list. The requirements don't actually have to make sense. It's, hey, you go off, you write down everything you think you want. When you're ready to tell me and use that to capture what you want, when you're ready to talk to me, we'll discuss it and we'll maybe refine those requirements. We'll maybe ask more questions on those requirements. We'll drill into them. We'll delete requirements. We'll update requirements. We'll do all sorts of stuff in there to make those requirements something that you actually want to see. And if there's another planning item required, we'll trigger another planning item, right? Have that discussion. The entire purpose is to talk about it and make sure that you're getting rid of assumptions, you're getting rid of everything else. If you start trying to bundle it into a technical concern, you start limiting yourself from that. And that's a conversation that even with the planning items the way they are, that's going to happen. It's just how long can that be managed and it just takes some discipline from a team perspective to not do that, I think. But ultimately, the developers should be able to go off and take those requirements and build out the actual technical pieces. So let's add. So we've added the thing to the sprint. That was a lot of work. I don't know if I can do anything else now. Include status on sprint. Default to open up. What would you say we do then? We said we would do put an endpoint of task to include status, command handler to apply status, and when started, update start date time to current start date time. So my reworded question would be, if I want my team to have the concept of a planning item, what are the resources available, the keywords for Google? I want my team to have the concept of a planning item, what are resources available, or the keywords for Google? You know what one thing might work really well for you? Considering the way that one of your devs wants to work, it might be worth seeing if you could comprehend event storming. Because it's less wordy, more focused on the doing and driving out that need to discuss. Like you kind of have to discuss the requirements bit by bit by bit, but you start at like looking at event storming might assist you there. It's not something I've only ever managed to do what was essentially event storming once. But so what that did is we got all the people involved, stakeholders, devs, everyone in a large room, and we were like, okay, what do we want to do? And the idea was we wrote down on post-it notes, here's what we want to do. Like we need to tackle this, we need to tackle this, we need to tackle this. And we went and stuck them on a wall. And then we spent a period of time reviewing the things, asking questions, and kind of pulled the labels off and started to form a visual of here's what we need to do, here's what we want to do, here's the things we have. And from there, we agreed upon what would constitute enough and what would constitute kind of the future. And then for those things that we constituted as enough, we went off, or the PM went off and identified what it would take to achieve those things. I know I'm not answering your questions directly. I just don't know what I would advise, because you need to get your devs into planning mode. But planning mode works best when there's something in front of them to plan off of. But you need to get them into product management mode before you get them into developer mode. And it sounds like that's more of a hard sell. Well, it's always a hard sell. But I'll look at some of the stuff I've got and see if there's anything that I would really advise. Because I've got a few books on agile planning and estimation stuff that may help there. But I think I would advise the discussion over everything. Like, discuss what you think you want, get it all out there, and then identify what the priorities are from there. Even if it's just single words right now, like, widget, uh, uh, class, etc. And it creates a discussion, and you kind of prioritize those things. So let's do the command handler for sprint, right? So we have the create for sprint. If you're new to the stream, if you're just joining, I am starting to work on introducing the status to a sprint. If you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, please feel free to ask to join in. You're more than welcome to. The sprint is the sprint. I'm going to do it again. I did this a while ago. I started to merge the words sprint and stream into the same thing. The stream is not necessarily about getting the development done. It's more being able to discuss the things that we do as we develop software, but not over planning. Yeah. Okay. So we need to introduce the concept of a status to this. This has the same problem as it has the same problem as everything else. Ugh. Like that with a passion. So we're going to include the status there. That means that's there. That means that's there. We've got a validator. That's okay. We'll worry about the validator later for create sprint. Right now, this will default. That's okay, I think. So now we need update sprint. We need to, what do we need? Command handler to apply status change. When started, update start date time to current UTC date. Publish integration event includes status. There's a concept I want to introduce here, but I don't feel it's useful at this point. I think it's more explicit to do what I'm about to do. Let's do when updating sprint status. Add that when sprint is when sprint is open and status changed to, is it active or started? I think started. No, active. Let's go active. When sprint is open and status changed to active, status is updated. Start date is set to current date time. Actually, I think it does work. Oh, this is a messy one. This is way messier than you might imagine. Ugh. Oh well. Okay. So we're gonna end up with private update sprint dot handler subject equals null. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't go ahead and create things that you think you might need is a general guidance when using unit tests. You just, if you're doing TDD, what you want to be doing is writing what you, so the idea is I'm going to stub this out. None of this code exists. I'm going to write what I think it should do. I'm going to validate that it fails once I start to create things. Then I'm going to add the behavior to make it pass, right? That's the kind of the focus. Arrange and add. So the challenge here is I've got some, not assumptions, but I've got some expectations. So I know things I definitely need and I can't do without, and I'm letting them sneak in a little bit there. So yeah, it's not the right way to do it, but it is a way to do it. You know who was good today? That's right. Um, okay, so we're gonna do what we want to do here is have private sprint equals null. What we're gonna say is sprint dot status dot is active. I hate having the strings. That is going to bug me. Sprint dot start date time dot is expected start date time. Private read only date time. That's not going to be that, but we're gonna leave that in place right now for that to work. We need to create an instance of our handler and our repository. I repository substitute y repository sprint, and this is the actual thing we want to do. And we're not going to do sprint create. Nope. We're going to do subject that handle update sprint dot command update the sprint with its status, and nothing else changes there actually, because we don't need actually no, for right now we have no need to change the start and end date of the sprint with anything but the implicit action, implicit action of changing the status of the sprint, right? So later on, if we want to edit the sprint, that's a different action. And yeah. So that being said, let's talk about that. Is this update sprint, or is this change update sprint status? Right? Update sprint is kind of broad, right? And would include everything. But if we make this about just updating the status, because you can change the status independently of if you're actually updating the sprint, you can't change the status. So let's go with update sprint status right now. Let's go with that. And I'm out of time. Update sprint status. Let's stub this out and then we can talk about what happens tomorrow. And again, time estimation. I'm bad at it. I'm always going to be bad at it because I'm trying to share enough of this process as I'm talking about it. So I'm just waffling for large periods of time. I get it. Bullet record command. This is GUID. Yep, I'll do it. Command from user result. Source user identifier. And handler. Shall yeah. I like what radio. So up until very recently, Patrick didn't have all the overlays and stuff with the radio voice and everything like that, and it's worked really well. I like that. It's very cool. Oh, yeah, Patrick is doing some .NET backend, some entity framework, and also using Flutter on the front end, which is nice to see. So we'll import these. Record name is not public record command. Record name is not valid at this point. Excuse you, what? Public record command. Can't handle that. Oh, I know how to code. Honestly, I do. Okay, so that's roughly what we need to do. That's going to fail. That's okay. Um, it should throw an not implemented exception. Yeah, object reference not sent to an instance. Actually, no, that's oh, because it didn't set. It actually failed for a different reason because the command. Yeah, the evaluation. Ah, either way. Okay. Um, I can't spend much more time on that today. So what we're going to do is tomorrow we are going to resume this. We're going to get the status updated. We're going to get those other stories kind of fleshed out and start to get this concept working. We're going to get the buttons and stuff in. I probably will do some off stream tonight. I have some time to do stuff. And then going into next week, we talk about what comes next and the next pieces. Teams, uh, groups. So teams and groups, different things, right? Team is a collection of people labeled under a single thing. Groups are um, kind of above teams. So you might have two development teams, but you might have three QA teams, or you might have two DevOps teams, or whatever. So the group is the general labeling. And the idea of that is that as you go forward, as we start to task the system out, work that is assigned to groups will be visible in the board, so you'll be able to say, oh, there's 10 QA tasks in progress right now, so that's why this planning item hasn't moved across, because we've all the development's done, but the QA is in progress and that's being worked on, and kind of visualize that. So groups and teams are probably something I'll be focusing on soon to try and represent that. Testing, that's going to be a nightmare. I might have to, just from a testing perspective, switch my focus to the deployment story and get the Kubernetes boxes set up, get that cluster deployed, get the software deploying to a Kubernetes cluster so I can actually host it and have anybody interested in helping log in, test it with me, maybe work on the same team as me, but maybe work on a different team and do that sort of stuff and just kind of tinker with the concepts. And then we can log into an instance of it that isn't the dev instance and test these things out. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that works, because once I start to go through it, it may work. We may get to see it, but I don't want to be logging into 5 different browsers and trying to juggle things, because it just won't be representative of actually what's happening, right? But yeah, we'll see. Okay. I did not watch the developer. Did I follow? No. Let's go right into Beaks. No, Beaks finished already, so that's gone. Dang it. We always read full bots. Yep, just ended. ASMR programming. I can't read full bots again. It's just not the way. The problem is there's no app devs that I know of. Unless anyone's got any recommendations to read into. Like Clayman devs working, like reading game devs all the time, it just feels difficult. Clayman's streaming though. Let's go raid Clayman. Clayman dev. So Clayman is building a game in Unity. It is a crazy looking game. There's so much going on. So jumping into the stream from my stream, it's going to be different. Daniel Rowe. would you recommend? Oh no, joke. Okay. I don't even know who that is. Okay. So let's go Ray Clayman. Um, I'll be back tomorrow. I will be finishing this up. I'll try and do a bit of this off stream today, later this evening. Try and make some more progress so that at least tomorrow we're not into unit testing world to start with. Then yeah, by the end of the week, by the end of tomorrow, we should be in a place where we can start to see the status of the sprints and move forward. And I hope that it's starting to make more sense to everybody else. So thank you all for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Mark, I hope you feel better, sir. Look forward to your return. And yeah, I'll be there when you do. So take care all. Loki says bye, apparently. Loki's coming to say, hello, buddy. Hello, buddy. You wait till the end of the stream today. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're going to say bye-bye now, right? We're going to say bye. Yeah, we're going to say bye. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.